Good morning. Congratulations. You have made it to the day you leave for college. It's the day. It's the time. It's very exciting. How did you sleep? Good, good. I thought maybe you'd be nervous or wouldn't be able to sleep. I didn't know. I assumed you didn't want any coffee. Oh, you might have some today. Is this your way of being an adult now? Now that you are a college person? Well, I'll make you some coffee in a little bit. Now, with today being the day that you are leaving, I did want to talk about some stuff before you go. Just some last minute things that either I learned or just general father thoughts to share before college. Now, I want to start with probably the most important thing that I learned, and mostly ignored, but is still important to tell you, even though there will be points where you will ignore this advice. But sleep is very important, and I know that right now you get a good amount of sleep and you feel well rested, and school has not been a problem because of falling asleep in class or being so tired that you're physically at the class but you're just staring at the board blankly. That might not happen in college, which I'm sure you know, but there are going to be many times where you're going to want to stay up by choice, whether to hang out with friends, whether to watch more Netflix, whatever the case may be, or it might not be by choice because you've put off an assignment until the last minute, or you have an assignment and it's 11 p.m. and you just got finished with practice, rehearsal, or whatever's tying you, and then it's going to take you 4 or 5 hours to do your assignments, and so you just get started. That will happen. But I will say, as much as you can, try to get sleep, because eventually your body might get used to it. And I remember my freshman year, my roommate and I think we only did this once, but we might have done it twice. We pulled several all-nighters. He got me on his sleep schedule, and his sleep schedule was, he had this theory that he heard of, you can sleep 20 minutes at a time, and if it in 24 hours is the equivalent of 8 hours, then you will be well rested. I don't know why, but he thought that was a great idea. And so if your dorm lights are on and someone's doing homework and you have homework, you're less likely to say, oh, I'll just wake up early or whatever. And so there were a lot of times we put off work and had to pull all-nighters, or we we would work for a few hours until like 2, and then I would take a 30-minute nap, and then he would take a 30-minute nap, and like we would wake the other one up. That sometimes worked. We tried to do that a lot, but usually what would end up happening is whoever went to sleep first would say, oh, I'm just going to sleep for a little bit longer, but I'll set an alarm so it's fine. And then the other one will say, okay, well, I'm still going to take a 30. And then you both end up sleeping for like 2.5 hours. And by that point, you're like, I don't even want to get up because you started to go into a REM sleep, and it's just this whole debacle. So try to pull as few all-nighters as you can, even though sometimes they seem unavoidable. But my freshman year, at least once, maybe twice, we pulled, it was near the end of the first semester, we pulled 2 all-nighters in a row, and took maybe an hour in those 2 days total to rest, to take like a 30-minute nap here and there. Would not recommend it. There's absolutely no way I could do that now. Even after, I think, starting my senior year, I was able to I tried to pull all-nighters kind of throughout all of college. I could do them, I could pull many freshman and sophomore year. And then junior year, I pulled a few, but usually about the 2 a.m. mark, I would just go to bed. And then my senior year, I could stay up late, but if I was doing it, if I was staying up late for the intention of going to, like, working, it was usually about that 2 o'clock mark as well, except for when I was working on my senior paper and I had to be up all night. That's just like it's not really necessarily advice, but it's like a side tidbit. If your major is going to require you to have a senior project, a senior paper, any sort of thing like that, start thinking about it and trying to kind of nail down what you want to do sophomore year, which seems kind of daunting to plan that early, but if you at least start thinking about it that early, it'll benefit you a lot in the long run. Like mine, I didn't actually start working on it until second semester of my junior year, but I tentatively picked and designed what I wanted to do my sophomore year. And that way, when it came time to choosing, I knew what I wanted to do. It was just nailing down all the details. So that's a side tidbit. Along with sleep, something I would suggest is, I know you've probably already picked your classes, but if you have a last minute switch or anything like that, I know they allow switches for a little bit, like that first week. I would try to not take any 8 a.m. classes. And I know what you're saying, and you're probably saying what I said. Just because you had to wake up early and go to school at 8 or 8:30 in high school, which was only 3-ish months ago, it's not the same for some reason. And I was like, the first day of classes, I had a Monday morning, 8 a.m., my roommate and me, using those college skills. I keep feeling like my hair is popping up. Trying to make it all fancy for your first day. 8 a.m.s. Not fun, not good. If they're necessary, take them. I'm not trying to scare you too far away from them. Uh, but they're really tough. My 8 a.m. class that I had my freshman year, first semester, was an earth science class, which I love science. You know, I thought it would be fine. One of my theater friend's dad was the professor, so I thought it'd be a great time, and it was a fun class. But the his voice was very monotone and deep, and so it was already pretty soothing, especially if you're really tired. But we had a whole unit. I ended up getting a C in that class. We had a whole unit where you're in the what is it? It's like the observatory, or the it's the one where you lay down in a dark room and stare at stars and constellations. So I did not do well on the space section of the class, because you would get there and both my roommate and I would have most likely just pulled an all-nighter or been up late and not gotten a lot of sleep, and woken up 10 minutes before class and just booked it to get there. And then you lay down in these chairs in this dark room and stare at little dots on the ceiling and have this monotone, deep voice start talking to you. And we would go in saying, we are not going to fall asleep. We are going to learn and pass this class. And then we would hear maybe the first sentence, and then we would hear, all right, class, on Wednesday, what we're going to go over is, and it was a mess. So, if you have the ability to not do that, that would be my suggestion, classes wise. Anything else is totally fine. Eventually, I think by my junior or senior year, I was really hating those 9 o'clock classes as well. But you know, you can't ask for too much, especially because I had to have all my classes finished by like 1 o'clock. Alright, next thing. Along with sleep, my next point is eating. You've been eating pretty healthy, and you eat normal right now. And I did when I was in high school. This is kind of the only reason I bring this up. I would go to the cafeteria, and you swipe your meal, and then it's just a buffet. And so if you're done with class or you have time, and especially if you're just sitting with friends, you're gonna want to eat more than just a small healthy plateful. Which, you know, is fine. That's why the meal swipes are so expensive. But I would just say watch it, not for you. I'm not saying anything about you. I'm just saying I should have watched it, is why I'm saying that. As well as sleep, the thing that's most likely gonna get you, because it really got me, is around the campus there are going to be so many 24-hour fast food places, and there was nothing better than having an assignment you needed to do that you were stressed out and working on at 3 in the morning, and your friend saying, you know, let's get some fuel. Let's go to Taco Bell, or let's go to Whataburger, or let's go to phones, or any sort of distraction that also it's a distraction. It is food, which is always good, and it's spending more time with your friends, as well as kind of getting off campus and adventuring. So it's a big draw, a big combination. Even if it's not necessarily adventure, it's going out into the city. One, it ends up being a lot of money. I think most of my money in college, besides tuition, like personal money, was on food, and like fast food. And yeah, it wasn't until my junior year that I started cooking. Well, sophomore year we had a kitchen, and I made a lot of quesadillas sophomore year, because they're super easy, especially in like a George Foreman, and they were good. So just, nothing, not saying anything about anything. I'm just saying sleep is good, and eating well will make you feel better, and it'll make you think better. And you won't waste all your money on fast food like I did. Next is a little bit more of a touchy situation, but I just want to talk about it, just so we can kind of have some, more just, I want you to know what I wish I had known, because I went to a small private Christian college, so my parents were like, oh, he'll be fine. And I was pretty able to pick up on red flags and stuff, which I know you will too, but when you're meeting people, especially at the beginning, everyone is going to try to put their best foot forward, their best face on, but not everyone is going to be as friendly as they seem. I mean, nowadays you hear about it in the news all the time, but just, I would say, be careful who is such a parent thing. Be careful who you hang out with. But just look for flags. Look for if someone seems to be acting weird, or I don't know, just something. Even if you just have a gut feeling of this seems off, your gut feeling is very important. Once you're kind of out on your own, and I know it's college. There's going to be parties, even if they're not necessarily like fraternity club banger. They don't have to necessarily be huge parties. They could be parties of 10 people. They could be parties of 5 people. And this kind of ties into the pick your friends carefully, although that sounds so... your friends are going to be your friends, but that being said, there are going to be situations that you might feel uncomfortable, or you might feel something inappropriate is happening, and not necessarily in one specific way. It could just be somebody's being very rude, and they're making very unparty-like comments, or it could be the opposite end of the spectrum, and it could be somebody who is saying or doing more uh, well, more things that are sexually inclined. Um, I know this isn't something necessarily that you enjoy hearing from your dad, but in any college you go to, or no matter who you are, there are going to be situations where you get enough people together, you get enough alcohol or whatever. Not that something will happen, hopefully not, but there's always a chance, even without being a party. It's just parties have big clusters of people who want to make dumb decisions. Just be careful. That's really all I'm trying to say. Look for signs, and here's the thing. I could say, if you don't drink till you're 21, by that point you'll have your friend groups that, because you'll probably be a junior by then, and it'll be fine. You won't. That might not happen, but I drank when I was 20. When I was your age, I was adamantly against drinking. I remember I had a high school girlfriend who would drink every once in a while, which, why, is dumb, because she had to, she couldn't, you can't buy on your own, she didn't, I think she just took it she took it from her mom or something, but I think I told her, I was like, either you don't drink anymore, or we're done for, which is so weird. I don't know, it wasn't a conversation, it was me these are my standards, so abide by them or we're done. Which, yes, that is a good thing, if someone doesn't meet your standards for certain things, but very much could have been handled in a better way. So that was just, I think, how silly I was back then. Every once in a while. But again, I drank when I was 20. It was with my roommates, and we had a great time. It wasn't anything bad, and it was my roommates and our girlfriends, just kind of all hanging out. And I think it was me and my roommate drank the first time I ever had anything. And we were pretty giggly, and it was a fun time. And what was nice was, I think my girlfriend made us pizza, because we just got super hungry. And he was like, you need bread, it absorbs the alcohol. And I was like, oh, okay, can you make us pizza? And she was very sweet. My girlfriend in college. So she makes pizza. So there are times where, it's a Friday night and it's a contained environment and it's not a big deal. But it's not always the case. So just, if you're gonna drink, try not to pass out, try not to black out, try not to have to ask people the next day, anything crazy happened, or I've had times where when I was younger, that I'd wake up the next morning and I would have, maybe I was just drinking on my own, and I'd check my phone the next day just to make sure I didn't send any drunk text that I didn't remember. So it's a good, I don't know, it's a good safety measure just to be careful. More being careful talks. I know, it's so exciting. Another thing to be careful about that might not necessarily cross your radar right now, because I never thought about it, is your mental health. Um, I would say that I was very fine and okay. Um, I was very mentally healthy my freshman year. Um, and even though it was a lot of stress, I felt fine. Um, but then my sophomore year, I think kind of everything had caught up because I might have pushed myself too far stress wise, and something that I did that I shouldn't have done was the girl I was dating had depression, and this doesn't necessarily tie to my depression that I developed at all, but just stress wise or mentally, I tried to think that I could fix it. So anytime she was in a depression bout, or anytime she had a flare up, I took it on myself as if I had failed, or I tried to make her happy, which isn't. That's how sadness works, but that's not how depression works. So I think that kind of all just, I don't know. The summer between which was also stressful because I took summer classes. It was just a very transition-y summer, and I spent the way it worked. Just I spent the whole summer by myself, other than taking classes. I didn't see any of my high school friends. I just kind of was alone. And when I got back, professors, they all said that I was acting different, but they couldn't tell what it was. They said I seemed to kind of have a more negative outlook. And I just thought they were crazy, or maybe I was just more angry, or I was upset because I was by myself all summer. I didn't really know what it was. It wasn't until I think it was almost a full semester into my sophomore year that I started to pick up signs that would be depression. And so I'm kind of putting these in two categories. But in college, there's going to be a lot of stress. And there's going to be a lot of, not just schoolwork, but schoolwork is going to be very stressful. Friendships, relationships, those are going to be very stressful. There's going to be a lot of things that will be pressing on your mind. Even when you're relaxing, it takes about a year or so after you graduate college to be able to relax and not feel like you're forgetting something, or that you should be working on something, or feeling guilty for sitting down and watching TV for half an hour. So be prepared for that. But on the other side, not saying that every person that goes to college gets depressed, because my word, that's such a generalization. But I've noticed a lot of people, when I went to college, they didn't realize it, or they weren't able to see any signs until they were under either the pressure or the stress, or just being that age. I don't necessarily know for others, but it was something that I dealt with for many years after that. But once I was able to kind of name it and self-diagnose it, which, not that you should necessarily self-diagnose things, but mentally, if you're feeling something, don't ignore it, and definitely don't do what I did and not talk to people about it for like a year. And if you don't necessarily want to talk to me or your mother about that stuff at first, that's fine. I would definitely say whatever you're going through, not just depression, not just whatever. Whatever you're going through, we are here to listen. We are here to give you a hug if you need one. Or we're here to have a conversation and just speak to you from our vantage point, because not that necessarily anything you go through we've gone through, but we have 25 years, 26 years of knowledge before you. So we have situations that we've gone through, or that we had friends who went through, that we kind of went along with them, that we can try to help with. All that to say, if you'd rather go to a friend, that's totally understandable. I went to my friends first when I was in college for everything. My friends were very important to me. But don't forget, there are professors. I would say try to find... I had a few professors that I really connected to, but I had one professor that I always went to for advice or for just hanging out and talking. I went over to his house several times and we had dinner. Usually his wife would make mimosas and he would make a steak or something on the barbecue. And we would watch an old obscure movie that I'd never heard of from like 30 years prior. But it was what they're the movies that he liked when he was young, and he'd say, "Hey, have you seen this?" It's like, of course not. Like, there's absolutely no way I've seen that. So, a lot of obscure movies from that time I've seen at this point. So, just discussion is the best way to start healing for anything, mentally, physically. Well, if you have the flu, talking about it is not necessarily going to help, but it'll help somebody go get you medicine for it. Asking for help, I kind of want to talk about that more in general, but to kind of segue out of asking for help and talking to people about things, when it comes to back to school, when it comes to assignments, when it comes to whatever, don't think that to get your degree you have to do it on your own, or you didn't earn it. In high school, it's a little bit easier to just say, like, oh, I do everything, because you go home and you have your homework, and then you go to school and you take the test. Like, everything's on your own. But in college, you have your roommates, you have your friends, you have everyone that's around you, you have your professors. I've gone to professors, and like in between, like if it was a Monday and Wednesday and Friday class, I'd go on a Tuesday to their office if I didn't understand an assignment and say, hey, I know this is due tomorrow, but I just don't get it. I don't get this specific thing. Or I was at the lecture and I understood this as a generalization, but when it comes to practice, I have no idea. They're usually pretty likely to to help, That's that's their job. And two, if they see you trying to engage with the material and really trying to learn, that's why they became teachers, so that they could help people really learn and understand their subjects. So, don't think you have to do it alone. Ask for help. Go to professors. Go to friends. Go to the tutoring labs if it's something that you need a lot of help with. Because I'm sure there will be. I think in my school it was at the library. Every night they had different subjects they were tutoring for. So help is always good, and almost always help is welcomed from those that you ask. But don't be afraid to help others, or don't try to be selfish. And be willing to help those who ask. As long as you're not jumping on everybody saying, no, this is how you do it. Because then I don't need your help. But, yeah, I think the most important part of college as a whole, outside of learning for the thing that you want to do, like sitting in a classroom learning your major or learning that thing that you want to do, the most important thing is the non-school stuff. And by that I mean having fun. Because there are so much, at this point, if you ask me, tell me something about college. I'm less likely to say that, I'm less likely to talk about this class that I had sophomore year, unless it was a really good class, or it really, launched me forward into, what I'm doing today, or what I really focused on. And I have those moments, but my freshman year, if you were to ask what is a memory from there that you like, a lot of them are going to be from pranks that I pulled on my roommate, because I was a little more, I don't know, rambunctious, I guess, when I was younger. I wanted to have stories, but I wanted to give stories to my roommate as well, so that he one day could say, I had this crazy roommate, and he wouldn't leave me alone. He would just prank me all the time. But I also really liked pranking people, so it wasn't just him. But there are some times where he'd fall asleep, when he was doing his 20-minute thing, and I would put stickers all over his face. Or one time I put a whole can of shaving cream, the fluffy shaving cream, in my hands, and I slapped him in the face, which kind of it got in his eye, so he wasn't too thrilled about that. But and there were some times where I took little bits of wasabi while he was asleep and would put it in his mouth. So I in retrospect, they were kind of weird, but they were fun, Or what I think on our first day when we moved in, we didn't know each other, but we both knew we had the same major, and that was kind of all we knew. And so I was like, hey, thinking he would be down for it. I said, hey, I am okay with waking up the other person by hitting them with a pillow, as long as you first say, arm thyself. He was was like, okay, I'm down. And we only did it the first 2 days. Because, well, the next 2 days. Because the next day, I got out of bed, I said, arm thyself. And then as he was, like, starting to wake up, I smacked him in the face with a pillow. Next day, I'm facing the wall, and he thinks he's gonna get me. So I'm laying on my stomach facing the wall, and I hear, arm thyself. And so I just threw up my hand and happened to catch his pillow with my right hand. And I spun my head around, and I looked at him, and I whapped him in the face with my pillow again. And then I put my pillow back down and went back to sleep. And he was just so flustered that he was like, okay, I guess I'm not doing that again. But yeah, so have those times, and as much emphasis as I put on, don't go out at 3 in the morning and go to Taco Bell. Your mom will never say this, and don't ever tell her I told you this. But there are gonna be some times where you're gonna be working on an assignment, and maybe one that's not, hopefully not for a lot of points, for a large percentage of your grade, but just like a homework assignment of something. And you're working on it and you're stressed out, and your friends say, hey, let's put this to the side, let's not do this, let's go get food. Or maybe they don't say let's not do this, but they say let's go get food. And so you go, and you come back, and you all are, you're eating and you're chatting, and somebody brings up something that maybe needs to be talked about, or just a fun story, and the conversation goes, and it's 2 or 3 hours later, and you realize, okay, I have to go to bed now. I'm so tired, I don't want to pull an all-nighter. Let's sleep for at least a few hours. And you think, oh, I didn't get that homework assignment done. That's okay. An assignment here or there won't kill you. Something that you'll hear very often is C's get degrees. And I'm gonna say, officially, go for A's. Do the best you can do. And work really hard. But off the record, there are gonna be nights, and I think your mom would agree, maybe not out loud, but I think she would. There are going to be nights that are the nights that you remember, that really bring you close together with someone, that at graduation you're standing there with 3 or 4 friends, and you can look back on a specific night where three or four of you became really close because someone was vulnerable, or just it was the beginning where it was a night where you all really were able to just hang out and talk. Those nights are gonna happen. And I think, looking back on the ones that I had, staying up late, talking with friends, I would have been really disappointed in myself if I gave up those nights for a 10-point assignment, So don't stress too much about that. And know that there are times where you can catch up. Don't, all that to say, don't try not to become that person that's always turning in assignments late, that never does their work, that always is just out partying or hanging out with friends, because then it becomes a problem. Then you're just not doing college. But every once in a while it's okay. And I'm sure if you talk to a professor and say, hey, I just be honest with them. Like, hey, I normally get all my assignments done, but just this thing came up, or I was talking with this person, and it was a conversation that was more personal, and I think it needed to be had. And especially in college, they'll sometimes, not always, they'll sometimes understand. Because they're human and they went through college, and they understand that sometimes somebody's mental health, or someone getting closer with someone is more important. And so sometimes, not always, but sometimes they'll say, okay, can you get it to me by 3 o'clock today? And you say, yep, I can do that. And then you go and you do it, and you turn it in, and everything's fine. So, yes. Today, when we go, we're going to move your stuff in. It's going to be great, and I know it's going to be very exciting. And you're going to see your roommate, and you're going to see the campus, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really cool. I know you hate, and I hate it too, how many pictures your mom takes of everything. But today, let her help with putting your bed together. Let her help if she wants to unpack some stuff. If she wants to take a picture, she wants to take 5 pictures of you and your roommate. She wants to take pictures of all these different things. Just let her. Because she is, I know your mom, and I know you know your mom. And she will put on a brave face, and she will smile, and she'll be so excited for you, which she is. She's very excited for what is to come, but she's also going to be very sad, because this will be the first time that you're away from home. And not that I won't be sad. I'll be very sad. I'll miss being able to talk like this as much as we do. But I just have a feeling it'll be really hard on your mom. So let her take the pictures. Let her help. Let her do whatever she wants to do. It is your day, but remember, it's kind of a big day for her too. On top of that, it would be nice if you would call home every once in a while. Right now you see us, and so there's really no reason to call. But starting from today, it's going to be a little different. And I was really close with my mom when I was in high school. And I was fairly close with my dad. They were separated, so it was a little different. But when you get to college, and when I went to college, I never called home. I never visited. I came home for fall break and Christmas that first semester, and then I went home for spring break, and that was it. So my family saw me 3 times. And so, but other than that, I never really called. If they called, I would answer, but I was always kind of busy, and so I would sound very annoyed when anybody called me. And I actually wasn't super close to any of my family while I was in college. And I know that really, it upset my mom, but she would call me sometimes. But it really upset my dad, because he's not, your grandpa, he's not very good at calling people. And so me not calling him, he was just always sad. And I just brushed it off. I never thought about it, because I was always with my friends. I was always doing things. But, we're going to have dinner, and you won't be here. And, there will be moments where it's going to be obvious that there's one less person. Family gatherings, events, or going out on a Friday night, whatever it is. So just don't forget to call. Call me, call your mom, call your grandparents, call your aunt, uncle. Just when I went to college, I thought I was a grown-up, and I thought I was being independent by not calling my family. And it wasn't until I graduated college and kind of got out on my own and kind of lived by myself for a little bit that I realized, oh, my family that still lives in my hometown, they're all very close and they all still do stuff together. And I don't really know what's going on in their lives anymore. And so after that, is when I realized, oh, I need to communicate more. I need to talk more. And so, and if that's what happens, that's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't feel, oh, I have to call my mom now because she'll just be a wreck if I don't. Don't put that much pressure on yourself. Just, we'd like to know what's going on. We'd like to stay connected. We have to update you about the dogs, let you know how they're doing. So that means you'll have to come back and visit, right, for the dogs? Well, I will let you get ready. I'll finish loading the car. I'm very proud of you. I know that there's kind of been this pressure on you to go to college. It kind of still feels like you're on a railroad track, maybe. But you could have said no. But you found a place that you wanted to go to. You found a major. You found a roommate. And I know it's not always the easiest thing to leave where you've known for so long, in pursuit of something in the future. So I'm very proud of you. I know your mom is very proud of you as well. And we know you're going to do great things. And we can't wait to see what you do and how you get there and how you do it. Your mom and I love you very much. So let's go get him. Alright, I'll see you in a few minutes. Bye, Captain. What, we don't do that anymore? That was just something from your childhood? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll see you downstairs, new adult. See you in a few. Oh. And I'll get you a coffee. Do you want just black coffee? A bunch of cream and sugar. That's what I figured. I'll see you downstairs.